step in the right direction. The African Union says the decision by the South Sudanese government to free the detainees is a move towards lasting peace in the world's newest nation.
It is also good because it will help the SPLM itself to start recovering from this tragedy so that there is greater cohesion within the ranks of SPLM. And so we would like to encourage this and also thank the government for accepting to the calls of international community.
President Salva Kiir said he made the decision to release the 4 political prisoners for the sake of national peace and reconciliation. However, the move comes with conditions.
Anytime that they are needed, if the criminal procedures can be revived against them, anytime they can be recalled back.
The released politicians have pledged to help restore peace in South Sudan.
We will be engaging both the government and SPLM, SPLA in opposition to end this senseless war that is killing our people, to end this war, and we work for a peaceful, free and prosperous South Sudan.
Kiir has come under mounting pressure as rebel fighters loyal to his sacked deputy Riek Machar seize prime oil territory, leaving scores dead and thousands displaced. There has so far been no reaction to the releases from the rebels. Maria Galang, CCTV.
And for an analysis on the developments in South Sudan, I'm now joined by John Gachie, a journalist and expert on South Sudan. Thank you, John, for joining us. So do you share the AU's optimism that the release of these 4 detainees could help boost the stalled peace process?
Yeah, I think this is the break that a lot of people have been expecting, both outside and inside. That perhaps now there could be light at the end of the tunnel, because the 4 were really one of the key, logjam in the whole peace process. So I am quite optimistic on this one. Yeah.
And then we have the UN Security Council now threatening sanctions. We have parallel probes by the AU, by the UN as well. Do you expect this kind of pressure to have a significant bearing on either side and their commitment to finding a peaceful solution?
Yes, perhaps it should have come earlier. Indeed, the amount of diplomatic leverage, the amount of pressure that we are seeing being exerted on both parties should have come a long time ago. Possibly the tragedy in South Sudan wouldn't have gone to the extent it has. And I'm saying it's a very welcome development, and hopefully that they will keep at it.
Right.
Push the 2 parties. It should have come earlier, more sustained and more widespread.
We've all seen the images of the killings in Bentiu. Of course, these have sparked global outrage and also appears to have opened a fresh window to have a speedy resolution to this crisis. So what is it that the IGAD and the international community need to do to capitalize on this window?
One, there are 2 things, is to keep the pressure and then to address the core issues. One of the first things that comes out of South Sudan current crisis is the failure of the international community to have given the new country sufficient funds to address the core thing, in my view, in South Sudan, that is security sector reform, demobilization, demilitarization, and reintegration. What we are seeing is that all the 3 groups, the forces have splitted into different factions, and that was the key thing that South Sudan needed to have addressed. That is DDR, that is we call disarmament, demobilization and reintegration. We are seeing all these various factions fighting, and this brings to the fore the issue that after peace came to South Sudan, they did not deal with the key issues of the military, the militia, the integration, and trying to disarm all these various factions. That, for me, is one of the major things that has to be done. Well, other international pressure, political, and even holding the various groups accountable. After you've held them accountable, what do you do with all these various militia groups. What do you do with all these people? Every time there is a crisis in South Sudan, one party goes and shoots, takes a tukul. There's a saying in South Sudan, if you want to be listened, fire an AK-47 and everybody sits up upright and listens to you. Then when you have peace, what happens to these guns? What do you do with those people? That
And speaking of accountability, is it possible then to hold to account the people responsible for these atrocities while also getting a political solution?
That would be a very difficult thing. But I think for the international community, we cannot allow perhaps a similar thing that happened in Rwanda, what had happened elsewhere. And I think there is need to hold them account. Now, how you divorce those accountable and the peace process, that will be a very difficult solution. But I hope and I believe they ought to be held accountable.
Right. John Gachie, thanks very much for those insights.